got glasses like 2 months ago, so it's like, I'm like, listen, just contacts? Yeah, makes sense. Exactly. Oh, fuck. Look at the Lord. Oh, that is a shout. My girlfriend just did. She's natural with them. You know, I'm like, hey, does it not? She's like, that's true. That's very true. You're shuffling the whole time.
कृपया कुर्सी की बेटी बांध लो।
The first time it's actually
At the fucking edge, oh god. professionals of individuals. Grief that I hope.
Good afternoon and welcome to today's TEDx conference, The Sound of a Page. Photographs and videos are permitted, but no flash photography please. This event will be recorded and live streamed. Please enjoy the show.
Here you go.
From Kenya to Colombia, from Iraq to Korea, In slums, in schools, in prisons, and in theatres. Every day, people gather at TEDx events around the world to hear the best ideas bubbling up in their communities. Today, you are part of a global conversation about our shared future.
I'm going to take my own advice and show some gratitude.
TEDx is an initiative of the TED Conference, a non-profit devoted to ideas worth spreading. We grant free licenses to allow TED-like events to spread globally. This event today is based on the TED Conference format and ideals, but is independently organized by your local community. So please make sure to thank the team of volunteers who worked so hard on today's event. It's their ideas, dedication and time that made it all possible. It's they who booked all the speakers, and the views you'll hear today are of course those of those speakers, not necessarily of TEDx. We hope their talks spark an exciting conversation among you. This is a day for curiosity and for skepticism, for openness and for critical thinking, for inspiration and for action. The more you enter into it, the more you'll take out. And now, on with the show.
For that wonderful performance. What a great way to start our event. Good afternoon and welcome to our TEDx conference. This year is a very special year for us. This show is a special one because it's our 10th anniversary and the first one actually live after COVID. So we're all very excited to take you through this event. I am Joyita and please welcome my co-host, Gia.
Thank you, Joy.
A very warm welcome to everybody. Thank you here for being here.
Before we go ahead with what all we've planned, I'd like everyone to please join your hands and welcome our leading faces of TED Society here at the University of Bath. Danny, our lead organizer.
Satya, our lead producer.
Seema, our lead curator.
And Marta, the head of marketing.
We also have Fia, who's our head of finance, but she's not been able to join us this afternoon, but she sends her good wishes and support. I'd really like the team to say a few words before we go ahead, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, it is with amazing pride and excitement that I'd like to welcome you to TEDx Bath University 2024. Thank you. Our entire team has been working relentlessly for the past 12 months, pouring their hearts and souls into the production of this event in order to be able to bring this magical day to you. So we sincerely hope that you will enjoy this. Thank you. And I'd like to pass it on to Daniel.
Thank you, Satya. Every TEDx conference has a theme. Our theme is the sound of a page. And props to my sister, because while she was reading a book, we came up with the theme. So this theme can mean different things to different people, but the idea is that the sound of a page alludes to the turning of pages. The turning of pages, in turn, alludes to the passing of time. But it's not a noticeable passing of time, it's an imperceptible one, like the imperceptible sound of a page.
After several meetings, rehearsals, auditions, so on and so forth, we are beyond excited to present to you our incredibly hardworking speakers today and our performances, everything, the whole team. We are so excited to hear their ideas. They're going to share their stories, their passions, and we hope, in light of TEDx and the mission of TEDx, that we can inspire each and every one of you here today.
And I hope that everyone is as excited as I am after all the teasers, 2 months of teasers, of waiting for the big event, now to watch our speakers perform live. Finally today, welcome everybody and enjoy.
Thank you, Marta. Now, we have a very special guest amongst us, and I would like to introduce her, the Right Worshipful, the Mayor of Bath, Dina Romero.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Well, good afternoon, everybody. And I'm absolutely delighted to be here for the 10th anniversary of TEDx, the TEDx conference. And thank you for inviting me as the Mayor of Bath to say a few words. Like TEDx, every year the Mayor chooses a theme, and my theme is the people of Bath, the beating heart of the city. Without its people, throughout history, Bath would not be the warm, welcoming, and beautiful place that it is today. From Prince Bladud, following his pigs to wallow in the therapeutic, warm, muddy waters to cure his leprosy, to the Romans who built the early city around these waters and capitalized on their alleged medicinal qualities, incorporating local deities into their own belief structure as they did so. To the Georgians, such as John Wood the Older and Younger, who built the Royal Crescent and the Circus. To Ralph Allen, who owned the stone mines from which Bath was built. And onwards to the Victorians, such as Major Davis, who built the Empire Hotel, which was a very shocking building at that time, and also who rediscovered the Roman baths. Bath has, for a long time, been the home of invention and discovery. You've probably heard of Isambard Kingdom Brunel, who brought the railways to the West Country, and, it is said, he worked with Sarah Guppy, a prolific bridge designer. Also William Harbert, who invented plasticine for his art students, and Caroline and William Herschel, who discovered Uranus and many comets using their handcrafted telescope in the garden of their home in New King Street. Bath as a place has a long history of liberalism from the Romans and Georgians who consider Bath to be a bit of a party place, to someone you probably haven't heard of, Emma Sturge, who was an abolitionist who sold textiles made of cottons from plantations without slaves. In modern days, you can see the influence of Nicholas Grimshaw in the creation of the 70s buildings that now house Lidl and the Bath Spa University Locksbrook campus, as well as the Therme Spa.
And others, like Mary Berry's father, who was there and helped bring about what was then, helped bring what was then an outpost of Bristol University here to this site on Claverton Down, and founded the University of Bath as we know it now. And of course, Mary Berry, herself born and educated in Bath, without whom the art of cooking, and more importantly, baking contests, would probably be very different. Bath has attracted many visitors over the years, including someone you won't have heard of, George Bridgetower, a young black child prodigy whose violin playing was the talk of the town. Others that you will have heard of, such as Charles Dickens, who based his character of Mr. Pickwick on a local landlord. Jane Austen, too, came here to write novels, as did Mary Shelley. You will have heard, of course, of Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster, and how you'll be aware how this has influenced many writers of horror stories, contemporaries to her then, as well as to us now. I say all of this and mention all these people since they illustrate the point that the city of Bath only exists as it does now because of the diverse people who have visited or lived and still live or visit the city. This is true. This has been true throughout history, and it's true to this day. The people of Bath, whether here since birth or as students or just visitors, are what makes Bath the very special welcoming place that it is. Perhaps it is this nature which nurtures the creative, thoughtful and entrepreneurial spirits which we will hear from during the course of today. I am delighted that our university students who come from across the nation and indeed across the world are adding to the rich history and vibrancy of the city, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing their TED Talks. So thank you.
Thank you so much. For the very first speaker of the event, we have Dr. Dale Wilhelm, a social entrepreneur and leader at the 4-Day Week Global, a not-for-profit organization. Their work has earned them a spot on the Times 100 most influential companies of 2023 and the Forbes Business Council. Ladies and gentlemen, this speaker embarked on a transformative journey at 27, choosing a 4-day week to reclaim time and reshape his life. Today, working with the 4-day week, he advocates for a paradigm shift, exploring the profound impact on sustainability, equality, and global health. Join us in welcoming our speaker, urging us to reconsider how we spend our time and envision a future where the 4-day week creates a more fulfilling world. Please put your hands together for Dr. Dale.
When I turned 27, I made a decision to change my life. I set out on a journey to regain 15,382 hours, or 641 days back in free time, by working a 4-day week. Why? I was born in the 90s in Ireland in a time that was called the Celtic Tiger. It was a time of booming economic prosperity for our country, and the idea that time is money was embedded within the Irish psyche. As a teenager, though, I experienced the largest global economic recession that we've seen since the Great Depression. And I saw how many families, including our own, struggled to make ends meet. As a young professional then, I entered into the world of work, during the largest pandemic that we've seen in over a century. And it was during that time that I found, as a society, we had a collective wake-up as to what the important things are. Mainly the times that we spend with ourselves and with our families and friends. What I've learned over the years is that when we prioritise money above all else, it will often disappoint us. So when I turned 27, I made a decision to change my life. Realising that I'm not able to keep up with the pace of change of our society, I said that I needed to do something different. Time is the great equaliser. We all have the same 24 hours in the day. And so therefore, gifting myself more time helped to provide a little bit more certainty in what is an increasingly uncertain world. My aim is to create 1 million new years of free time, which sounds a bit mad. But let's break it down. When you look at the majority of the world, embarking on a 4-day week would actually help to create about 50 additional days in a year, equivalent to about 10 working weeks across a year, and across 5 years would be equivalent to 1 year of working time. With that in mind then, this is not just a journey that I'm on, but there are global trials happening. Here in the United Kingdom to Japan, from Australia to Brazil. But why should we be doing this? Why a 4-day week? As a society, we are facing so many challenges right now. We have a rising climate crisis that we are struggling to get our hands on top of. We have seen growing inequities within our society since the global pandemic. We have rising public health concerns due to issues like chronic disease. And we have fluctuating economies that can't seem to find stability. As a result, the 4-day week may be the intervention that we require in order to provide more stability in our lives. What I want you to think about here today is what might a 4-day world look like? A world where we prioritize more sustainable practices within people. A world where we have empowered people to lead more balanced lives. So intrinsic to all of that is making people more time affluent, not time poor. The average American commutes about 54 hours to and from work every year, according to the US Census Bureau. Not only is that a huge impact on the environment, but it's a huge cost on their time as well. Global trials being conducted by 4-day week Global in conjunction with Boston College have found that we're able to reduce commuting time by up to 36 minutes per person per week when people embark on a 4-day week. When you extrapolate that to a larger population size, we might be able to make a positive impact on carbon footprint. A study in the Journal of Industrial Ecology found that we can reduce energy consumption by up to 30% when we bring in reduced working hours. Considering the energy crises that so much of our world is facing right now, wouldn't that be a good thing? What's really interesting, though, is actually what people do when they get time back. We often hear the narrative, I don't have enough time. But actually, what we find in people who are embarked on 4-day week trials is that they use that time not to do more work, but actually to give back to their communities. We see greater levels of volunteering, greater levels of community development, and as a result, we create a much more equipoised society. Which leads to the second benefit of a 4-day week. Reducing working hours may act as the beacon of hope for building more equality within our world. According to the Pew Research Center, up to 42% of working mothers in the US have to reduce their working hours in order to look after an elderly parent or look after their children. Only last year, the Nobel Peace Prize laureate, Professor Claudia Golden, was rewarded for her work on the emergence of the gender pay gap between men and women. In particular, what her research found was that while both genders may start at similar salaries at the beginning of their career, the gender pay gap emerges at the ages of parenthood and widens across the career. Women are always going to lose out because we use time as an arbitrary metric to define dedication in an organization. In 4-day week trials, the philosophy towards work fundamentally changes. We focus much more on rewarding output as opposed to time. And as a result, those who aren't as time affluent are better able to perform in workplaces and be rewarded as such. Equally important, though, in the culture of conversation around the future of work is the approach and the milieu around men and work. What we saw in the UK trial of a 4-day week was that parenting time by men doubled up to 35%. When we looked at what caused that, we asked those men, and many of them said that for the first time, they felt organizational permission to actually take time off work. Because 4-day week is a policy for all, as opposed to a flexible working policy like other policies, we are able to create more parity between the genders outside of the workplace. This is such a critical conversation in our future of work conversations. If we have any hope of building a more equal world, we need to bring men on board. As a man hoping to be a father in the future, that idea kind of daunts me, the idea of juggling work and parenthood. Because I've seen generations before me struggle to be able to find that balance in dual income households. So therefore, rewarding people with more time off may be the best thing to actually build more sustainable health and well-being within our people, which is the third benefit of a 4-day week. Your health is your wealth, or so the saying would go, but yet we are constantly sacrificing ourselves in the name of our work. Research has shown that longer working hours is associated with an increased risk of developing stroke, cancer, diabetes, and obesity. In fact, the World Health Organization defines occupational stress as the leading cause of these diseases. When we look at working hours, we should be also looking at the conversation around mental health. We constantly put money as the savior of all of our woes, but it will often let us down. Longer working hours has been associated with increased levels of anxiety, depression, and worsened emotional well-being. Luckily, it's not all despondent. In reduced working hour trials, the antithesis is also true. So we have found that people are able to engage in greater levels of physical activity, they're able to sleep more, and most importantly, they're able to report lower levels of stress, one of the biggest issues we're now facing as a society. Crucially, what people are reporting is that they are getting psychological needs fulfilled outside of their work, because for the first time, they have time to look and care for people that they love for, and most importantly, to do the things that they actually want to do in the first place. We've talked a lot about how the world of work is actually impacting on us and our society, but equally important in this conversation is actually about how we are impacting on the world of work. According to Gallup's State of the Global Workforce, only about 12% of us are actually engaged in our work. The World Health Organization has reported that up to $1 trillion is lost annually in productivity due to issues of stress in the workplace. What's quite evident is that the world of work is not working for us. And so as a result of that, we find ourselves perpetually time-starved, a situation that we have largely imposed upon ourselves. But what if we gifted ourselves more time? When I turned 27, I made a decision to change my life. And now I work for an organization called 4-Day Week Global, and we're attempting to change the lives of many. In Bronnie Ware's book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, 2 of those regrets are, I wish I had lived a life more authentic to myself, and I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I believe these 2 regrets are really intrinsically linked with our current philosophy to work. So today, join us in helping to create a sustainable, equal and healthy world. Join us in helping to create a 4-day world and join us in helping to create 1 million new years of free time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dale. You've actually got us thinking. 4 days a week, it does sound very tempting. At least I'm tempted by it. But I'm sure a lot of you must also are already rethinking it. But let's say, what if it's not an easy decision to make, by the way, especially, you know, when we have so much of dreams and aspirations and ambitions. Ambition is something like a cloud. It's like constantly over our heads. What do we do then? So our next speaker here is going to share some very interesting, let's say, personal sense on ambition. Please welcome Shaurya Singh.
Thank you. The Fragility of Ambition. A rather melodramatic title in itself, yet quite ironic. Because to be frank, I don't have a clue what I'm doing anymore. In fact, I used to feel that ambition, direction, purpose, and aims were 4 values which used to feel a lot to me. They used to mean a lot to me. And yet recently, I've lost sight of all 4. And in that process, I've stopped knowing what I want from life. What do I want from myself, and what makes me smile? Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, that's what we go away with. Now, it wasn't always like this, you see. Look at this. That is 8-year-old me. And 8-year-old me definitely knew what he wanted. He wanted to go to the London 2012 Olympic Games and watch Usain Bolt run like the Flash across his court. He wanted to then go watch his badminton idol, Saina Nehwal, win India's first women's singles medal. I mean, even much later on down the line, at this point, where I'm 18, I definitely knew what I wanted. I wanted to party, I wanted to dance the night away, and I wanted to feel everything that I hadn't for 18 years. I wanted to travel, and I wanted to go to Lithuania on a £9 ticket. And then all in between that, I wanted to be an engineer in hopes of one day becoming an astronaut. Now, as life does, it all just gets you completely lost. And I found myself too daunted by the task ahead. Now, I'm not saying that at 20, even now, I want to solve life's mysteries. But I had certain expectations of myself. I wanted to know what I wanted, right? I couldn't figure it out. And it led me to where I am now. Now, you see, the thing is, my issue was that I wasn't letting myself forgive my past mistakes. And as everything crumbled, I took the weight with me. My mother, who is my idol, she has gone through such hardships in life. She has lost so much in her personal life, lost so much in her professional life. There's been grief that I hope nobody has to ever endure. And yet she's always fought on. Even now, in the space that she is, battling an illness which has taken so much from my family, she continues to strive. And I can only say that you've got to look at her and what she does for the very core of it. It's not the fact that your aims have been taken away from you, but it's the fact that you can recalibrate your ambition. You can set your goals again, and you can go again. And I'm sure that when she's fit, she's fighting, and she's healthy, she's going to achieve everything that she wants to. Now, on that topic, I also do want to address something. I've never been one of those feely-touchy types. My emotions have always been weird, and I've never appreciated my family for who they are to me. So I thought, what better a stage to start than my own TEDx speech and my own talk in front of an audience. Now, I want everyone in this audience to just take a moment to who you feel appreciative for. Take a moment for gratitude, because I realize that ambition without appreciation, it's a hollow victory. So I'm going to address my parents in Hindi now. And for that moment, and for those seconds, just think. Ma, Pa, Dani, आपकी बहुत याद आती है यार. मैं आपको दिखाता नहीं हूँ, बहुत याद आती है. घर की भी बहुत याद आती है 2070 जनकपुरी even Shenley Lodge and I don't know why I am but मैं कैसे बताऊँ मैं आपसे बहुत प्यार करता हूँ and no place other than this मैं आपको अभी बता रहा हूँ I miss you I miss all the times that we have I miss all the things that we do be that the cooking or the drone flying I love you and I would spend a lot more time with you and I'll make this up to you anyways enough of this emotional stuff you guys didn't come here for that but I will tell you gratitude and ambition, they have to go hand in hand. Without one, the other just feels imbalanced. Now, for me, right, my ambition, as I said, is to become an astronaut. I want to grace the International Space Station with my humble presence. Now, to be blunt, I'm 5'7", 2 PhDs, and an American citizenship short of going anywhere near an astronautics degree, never mind reaching the space station. I mean, I think to myself, to be quite honest with you, that I'm just going to run along to management, drop engineering, go into finance, make money. I gotta make money. Maybe that's what life is about. But whatever my purpose is, be that reaching for the stars quite literally, or making a hard-coded stack of cash, I know that I will figure it out because you gotta realize that whilst ambition may be fragile, the human spirit definitely isn't. And we'll figure out what we're trying to do one way or another. So listen, as me and my friends say, यार पापड़ बेलो जिंदगी जियो. Wait, not quite. पापड़ बेलो जिंदगी खेलो. Now what does that mean? That means don't take life too seriously, right? It's not worth it. And don't take yourself too unseriously, because you have it inside of you to figure out what you need. And it'll fall into place. So guys, I am Shaurya Pratap Singh Rathore, and this was the fragility of ambition. Thank you.
Thank you, Shaurya, for that extremely inspiring talk. And one thing that I have taken from Shaurya's talk is that I can't pursue my ambition without support. With the same values, we have our next performance by the Bourbon Dance Society. Bourbon is a society that always aims to be open and welcoming. And today, they have prepared a performance with house, hip-hop, and crumping. So please, without any further ado, put your hands together for the Bourbon Dance Society.
Stop with the point to break up, down with this. If it happens to blow, it makes a loud sound. Push it back and go to town now. Putting rap on my back and I'm black and stacking crowns. I came back around like I said, I got to back down, but it's nothing to brag about. Blast in the background, I'm a black man with a bloodhound. 10-10 making love sounds to a bad chick, she from uptown. I'm from down south, not a loudmouth.
continue to be inspired today, it is my privilege to introduce our next speaker, Danilo McGarry. After graduating from University of Bath, he became the top 20 worldwide AI expert, exemplifying his commitment to innovation and transformative thoughts. He has led pivotal global initiatives in automation, artificial intelligence, and digital transformation at some of America's leading companies. Today, he will share his insights that challenge us to reconsider the boundaries of human identity in this new era. Please join me in warmly welcoming Danilo McGarry.
Hi, my name is Danilo McGarry, and I'm going to be talking to you about really something that's going to make you question humanity's place as top of the food chain. And it's going to happen really because of artificial intelligence, or in short, AI. In our history, we've been through very few industrial revolutions that have really shaped our history, such as the use and discovery of fossil fuels, the steam engine, electricity, and the internet. The era that we live in today, the World Economic Forum is describing as the fourth industrial revolution, which is a revolution of AI. Note that I said revolution, not evolution. Revolutions are far more impactful. But you see, AI is not just an industrial revolution, it's an informational revolution, taking precedence from the hugely impactful and famous invention of the printing press. You see, this industrial revolution is going to be different to any other we've seen before. It's going to have a far more profound economic impact. It's going to truly disrupt the way that we work and we live. In just the next couple of years, anything between $7 to $15 trillion will be created in economic value around the world. Note that the world GDP today is around 100 trillion, so that's a significant impact in just a couple of years. No other technology has done anything like it, not even close. New companies will be created, providing new services, and therefore new jobs will be created with new skills that we've never had before. And that's going to have a profound impact on our communities and the way that we just do everything on Earth. If you read back history books in how it was when cars were invented and took over horses as the main mode of transportation, you will see that there was significant social and civil unrest when that happened. There were conflicts all over the world because of this. So just imagine what a technology that can replicate many of the things that we do as humans will do to us. The impact is going to be huge. Just going to get my clicker, sorry. Thank you. You see, much of what we do is summarized into three categories. The famous work, eat, sleep, repeat. And really, this cycle is about survival, human survival, the basic human instinct that we have in order just to live and do things that will keep us occupied. But in essence as well, when you look at what we do between the ages of 20 and 50, we spend anything up to 50% of our prime years working. That's a significant amount of time. When we go to private or social gatherings, when we meet people for the first time, the thing that we often get asked is, what do you do for a living? We spend so much time working and we focus so much of our life around it that it impacts where we live, the hobbies that we have, and even some of the friends and people around us as well. So when this is touched by AI or is changed by AI, you can see that this is going to be hugely impactful. AI today is already demonstrating understanding of deep emotion and creativity, which were historically human traits only. When you compare AI to humans today, the AI systems which are available to everybody already has an IQ of 150, so it's already smarter than most of us. It is also much better in terms of memory. It has infinite memory and perfect memory, something that the human condition will never have. And it is also faster and stronger than any of us when combined with machinery. Many people will also argue that it's even more creative than we are today. And it's definitely faster at creating things than we are. Just to tell you a quick story, I was sent a joke the other day on my WhatsApp that I didn't understand. I read it over and over again. And I just put it into ChatGPT, and it explained the joke back to me perfectly. And the funny thing is that the joke was actually really funny. You see, AI is much more than we imagine. It's much more, much more. And I hope that at the end of this speech, you'll be able to understand that better as well. As an AI practitioner, I'm considered to be one of the top voices in the world for AI today. So I'm super lucky, and I'm also lucky to see technology before it goes out to the main market and to the main masses, sometimes years before anybody else gets to see it. And I'm really astounded by the amount of innovation that is happening today, and also the amount of investment going into AI. This monstrous momentum is both exciting, but if I'm quite honest, it's also scaring me. Just to balance my argument out a little bit, there is something that humans do better than AI today, and that's in relation to power consumption. The human brain only requires 20 watts of energy per hour in order to operate and think properly, whereas an AI system that does something comparable will need significant amount more energy. I believe that in the next couple of years, definitely not decades, there will come a moment when we will look in the mirror and see very little difference between us and AI. It's going to be a moment of literal reflection, where we're going to have a significant identity crisis. And we're going to be asked the question, what makes us so unique? What makes humans so different to everything else on Earth? And it's going to make us want to reimagine our purpose in this world and what we're doing here. It is widely accepted that artificial general intelligence, or AGI, will exist in just 5 years from now. For those of you who don't know, and there isn't a clear definition yet that's accepted, but I think few will argue with my definition, AGI is a system that can do anything a human can do, or a collection of humans, but better, faster, and more creatively. And already today, we're starting to see early signs of AGI emerging, just this year and last year as well. Again and again, I'm asked the question, how do we navigate this new chapter in history where AI intrudes in everything that we do as humans? And the way that I think we should think about it is that AI is here to liberate us from the work that we shouldn't be doing. So many jobs that we have are in essence, senseless. They don't make a lot of sense, and they're based on a bad design because of basic human thinking. And they're focused on the wrong priorities, on things that really don't matter, such as chasing money and just fame and things like that, which don't make a lot of sense. It doesn't make us a better human civilization. What we could do is use AI to create a better Earth, to create a better human civilization, and to fix some of the deep-rooted problems that we have in this world with the systems that we've set up. If we set the goal to become a better human civilization, I think we'll all agree that that is definitely a goal worth setting that is very motivational. A couple of things that we could do, for instance, in improving the human race is improving our schooling systems. Why don't we create school systems that improve? Instead of trying to get students just to pass tests, why don't we teach them how to open companies and manage their finances and emotions, things that they actually need in the real world? With the amount of time that we're going to get back from AI, why don't we use that time to fix the broken tax systems that we have so they actually work? Innovations such as Neuralink is also promising to reverse blindness and to help with diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. I know many of us have lost loved ones to diseases that have been around for far too long. And it's all because of healthcare systems that are broken. They're incentivized to mask diseases rather than actually finding cures for them. And what about global warming? The very thing that can make us extinct. Is there anything more important for us to fix than that? You see, AI is not magic, but it's definitely going to free us from traditional work like we know it today, so that we can set new goals and new standards of what it is that humans should be doing on Earth. In conclusion, I think AI is a technological marvel, and I think many people will agree to that. And it gives us a chance to fix broken systems and reimagine our place in this world, which is something that we've never really had the chance to before. Surely the human race is more than a senseless work, eat, sleep, repeat cycle we've been on for far too long. In a world full of uncertainty, one thing is for sure. AI is going to drastically change the very thing that defines you and that you spend the most time on, which is work. The decision that you have to make is, are you going to squander that opportunity by further deteriorating the human condition, chasing money and greed and things that make us into beings that just shouldn't be? Or are you going to use this new resource and technology in order to answer some of the mysteries in life and to fix these broken systems that we have in place? And if I'm quite frank as well, I don't think we have a choice. Our very existence as a human race is based on this, before AI, quite rightly, decides to take matters into its own hands. Thank you. The clicker, which nobody gave me. Who's next?
Thank you, Danilo, for sharing this insightful journey. You've definitely got us thinking about our relationship, and I'm sure we all are right now reflecting what's our relationship between technology and as humans. What can we do? Our next speaker for the day is Sedona. She's here to share her story of hope and recovery while battling mental illness and the health system. Due to the sensitive nature of this content, please feel free to leave the theater at any time to put your personal well-being right on top. If anyone wants to leave, please feel free to leave.
On the 21st of March, 2020, I discovered my body paralysed from head to toe. In the intensive care unit, unable to open my eyes, move, nor breathe for myself, I lay conscious in a coma. This suicide attempt was the closest that I've been to death. I had to be resuscitated. My heart restarted. I was brought back from the brink, you might say. Years of pain and psychological suffering tortured me every second of every day, inflating and weighing me down like a giant lead balloon. Too often, this balloon would get so big that it burst, releasing thousands of painful shards, shattering not only my life, but the lives of the people around me too. At the age of 15, I was sectioned under the Mental Health Act for the first time, detained in hospital against my will. Little did I know this was just the start of a tornado of trauma, over-medication and mistreatment in the name of psychiatric care that would haunt me for the rest of my teenage years. I've spent 6 of my 22 years of life within the 4 walls of hospitals. The trauma that I endured whilst there commenced a catastrophic cascade of further mental illness to brew in my brain. I ended up with diagnoses of complex post-traumatic stress disorder, borderline personality disorder, anorexia nervosa, and well, the list goes on. The complex nature of these diagnoses left me being deemed untreatable, resistant, a lost cause. It wasn't just me who had lost hope, the professionals had too. I was bullied, belittled, and punished behind the 4 walls of psychiatric hospitals. Handcuffs cutting away at desperate wrists. The diminuendo of screams whilst being held down, injected, sedated. No saw from nasogastric feeding tubes being violently inserted. Sirens wailing as I looked down to see my legs trembling on the edge of a bridge. the monotonous beat of life support machinery, and worst of all, the absolute terror in my parents' faces. It all replayed in my head. I think back to my therapy sessions in hospital, draped in rip-proof clothing with 2 weeks of unbrushed hair, painfully trying to construct a list of reasons why life is worth living. Most of these sessions ended in heavy restraint and injections. I was so desperate to die, I was convinced that no, my life would never be worth living. I lived an idyllic early childhood. My 3 siblings and I were born in London and raised by 2 loving parents. We lived in a beautiful top-floor apartment with far-reaching views over the city. My time there was filled with glorious memories, from the birth of my siblings to long walks along the Thames. After 3 cats, a new house, and another baby girl joining the family a few years later, we all moved to Dubai. It was an incredible experience. We were in our own little haven with a swimming pool, beach, ice cream shop, and gardens, all within walking distance. Blue skies and temperatures of over 30 degrees every day. It was like stepping into an entirely different universe. After 2 blissful years, it was time to return to the UK, where we settled down in a small village in the south of England. I flinch picturing how perfect, peaceful, and positive the environment in which I grew up in was. How on earth did things manage to take such a catastrophic turn later in my life? But that's the thing about mental illness. It doesn't discriminate. It has the potential to affect all types of people from different backgrounds, upbringings, races, religions, genders, and ages, and there is no way of predicting when or where it is going to happen. On returning from the village carol service on Christmas Eve of 2010, we discovered our family home had been broken into. In less than a second, from everything being fine, the burglary became the root of my serious anxiety that reared its head as I got over. A certain amount of anxiety after the burglary was expected, but no one anticipated how deep to my core it had eaten away. I tried my best to suppress the intense feelings, to mask a brave face and continue as I always had done before. But as John Green famously wrote, the thing about pain is that it demands to be felt. And indeed, a few years later, I most definitely felt it. It started with the bullying, which drove me out of 2 secondary schools in the space of less than 6 months. I was sexually harassed often and hailed with verbal insults. I felt so out of place among my peers and my confidence faltered. The combination took an enormous toll on my increasing anxiety, but settling into my 3rd and final school, I finally felt like I wasn't trying to squirm into a mold that wasn't quite right for me. Focusing on my studies and becoming a high-performance athlete helped me muddle through my constant and changing identity. Unfortunately, the theory of this didn't quite match the reality, and as I continued putting pressure on myself, both academically and athletically, I was beginning to break. I suddenly started having panic attacks. Multiple hour-long episodes of hyperventilating, sobbing, shaking, and hallucinating every single day. It rapidly progressed into panic disorder, where the anxiety and fear of having a panic attack just causes more of them to happen. It was all-consuming, exhausting, and the disruption caused by my distress often meant that I was sent home from school. Initially, the NHS's mental health services refused to see me, seemingly waiting for things to get worse before intervention was warranted. Unfortunately, it wasn't long before the panic attacks turned into hallucinations, psychosis, depression, and suicidality. But by this point, the input they offered was too little, too late. Their first response was medication, but this wasn't managed properly and things continued to get worse. The suicide attempts and self-harm became unmanageable. Hospital stays and being sectioned was suddenly my reality. To this day, I strongly believe that a poorly structured system and lack of effective treatment pathway before hospital is required were the reasons I became so unwell. Treatment options shouldn't be limited by postcode. With graphical inequality drastically affecting funding allocations of mental health services across the UK, access to help needs to be available for all and in all parts of the country. The initial dismissal of mental health services meant by the time they eventually offered me help, I was too ill to accept it. Sometimes I wonder if things would have turned out differently if I was offered therapy before I was given medication. Treatment didn't seem to be the priority to them, but rather containment. The broken system's effect on me didn't stop there. And within hospital, things went even further downhill. After being in their care for a year, I was diagnosed with anorexia nervosa and force-fed through a tube that went down my nose and into my stomach. I was given the wrong medications at the wrong times, and I was often being pumped full of drugs just to sedate me. I was experiencing trauma upon trauma at the hands of psychiatrists, nurses, support workers, security, and even the police. I was kicked and beaten by staff, manipulated and coerced. The neglect for my safety meant that I was even raped by another patient. Being detained against my will meant that my voice was unheard. No one listened when I tried speaking up about all that was happening to me. I was given a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder, an illness characterized by intense mood swings and extreme emotional sensitivity. To my surprise, this label actually carried more stigma among some psychiatrists than it did the general public. They used it against me and took advantage of their power. Miles away from home and my family, I was left to fend for myself. I'm not denying how vital risk management is within the setting of psychiatry. The measures that can be in place aren't nice. No one enjoys being in a rip-proof hospital gown, in an empty room with just a prison mattress, or being held onto by two nurses at all times to stop you hurting yourself. But I accept these are sometimes necessary precautions. What I will never accept is the abusive or inappropriate treatment in the name of patient safety, or the establishment of an environment where people are made to feel inferior. Bullying vulnerable individuals is fundamentally wrong, and it shocks me to my core that it is still happening today. Even with this degree of apparent risk management, my risk to self certainly fell through the gaps at times. The severity of my self-harming behavior became somewhat normalized. I was stuck in a toxic, repetitive cycle of hurting myself, being taken into hospital, having surgery to fix the damage from what I'd done, and then as soon as I woke up, I would run away from the two nurses next to my bed, only to hurt myself again and be brought back by the police for yet another surgery, and the cycle repeating itself. Even whilst being detained under the Mental Health Act on psychiatric wards, the cycle persisted. The surgeons were convinced that I wasn't going to survive the next operation, yet the mental health team struggled to put a stop to it. The corruption was as clear as day, but there was nothing that anyone could do. There seemed to be no remorse when the consequences of these supposed professionals' actions almost resulted in my death. It was as though they just didn't want me on their hands anymore. There were times when members of the public would take on the responsibility of keeping me alive, wrestling me off a motorway of busy traffic or bear hugging me on the edge of a railway bridge. There are so many beautifully caring souls out there who care more about my life than the people who were paid to do so. I was rapidly slipping through the net. A common theme emerged among my first few admissions. No one was confident in managing complex psychological symptoms. I was often sent home when a ward didn't know how to manage me, usually resulting in the police bringing me back because my risk was so high. It was supposedly a punitive measure, but clearly didn't work. Particularly among adolescents, when the brain is still developing, mental health symptoms don't always fit into one distinct box. A solid, isolated diagnosis can be difficult to give, but that doesn't mean that treatment should be limited. Rather than criminalization of symptoms and distress, a therapeutic approach clothed in understanding is crucial. During my long stay in hospital, Amidst transfers between wards and changes in care teams, a light appeared in the extremely bleak darkness. I was offered a solicitor. It is the right of anyone detained under the Mental Health Act to have access to a solicitor, but unfairly, some units promote it more than others. It needs to be a more commonly known right, as often patients can be too unwell to fight their own corner, and without my solicitor, I don't know if I'd still be here today. My parents' unwavering support and my solicitor's commitment to my case meant that there was finally hope that I can make it out of this system alive. It wasn't until I moved to a specialist rehabilitation unit 4 years after my first admission that I finally realised how mental health workers should behave. My eyes were opened to a kindness that I can only relate to that of a family member. I was soon taught that life wasn't meant to be an endless cycle of re-traumatisation. The complexity of my symptoms and diagnoses was suddenly accepted and investigated. They saw me as a person who'd been through an awful lot of trauma and suffering, but still deep down, just a person, just a girl with washed away dreams. They took it upon themselves to recarve those dreams and help me rebuild myself to be able to reach them. Many psychiatrists refuse to treat a dual diagnosis of an eating disorder and personality disorder. However, this unit was purpose-built to do just that. I was taught that the trauma I endured was not my fault. Rather than punishing me for being complex and treating me like a criminal, staff took the approach of breaking things down, working out what the specific issues were, what caused them, and most importantly, what could be done to improve them. During the hundreds of hours of hard work and commitment, my medication was changed, I was offered regular therapy, had a stable support system, and more than anything else, I felt loved again. Love from not only my family and friends, but from the healthcare workers, the other patients, my therapists. I hadn't experienced an emotion so positive in years. Day by day, I rebuilt the life I once had, and day by day, things got better. I got back on the tennis court. I went back to college. I applied for university, spent more time with my family, and started living, not just surviving. Don't be mistaken. I've had setback after setback. There have been times when I've reverted to believing that there really was no hope. But when I've not been strong enough to hold myself up, the extraordinary people around me have. On the 23rd of January 2023, I was discharged from hospital, having spent the last 6 years sectioned in them. I no longer need a feeding tube. I'm able to keep myself safe. I don't need someone watching me every second of every day, and I'm ready to move on. Every day, I wake up, and I choose to live. I muddle through the path that takes me through my life, constantly rerouting to steer closer to what is best for me. Literal blood, sweat, and tears have led me here, along with a hell of a lot of hard work and determination. I've made it out of hospital. I've made it to university. And I've even made it onto this stage, all of which were things I never believed would be possible to do. In March 2020, existing was not something I saw as being feasible anymore. The only direction I saw out was, well, out. Oh, how I wish I could go back and tell that 18-year-old girl that self-destruction would never achieve peace or rid her of the pain. The only true way out was, in fact, by wading right through. I lived through the darkness, I learned from the darkness, and I survived the darkness. I made it. I made it back from the brink.
Thank you, Sarona. It was absolutely, I would say, remarkable. Thank you so much for your bravery, for sharing this inspiring talk with us. It's so wonderful to see you emerge as someone so much more stronger on the other side. It was amazing. I'm sure you guys must be feeling the same way to see her standing amongst us and, have this talk.
Okay, thank you. Before we part for the break, I would like to thank some of our team members, starting with the curation team for putting together such an inspiring list of speakers. We have Seema, the lead curator. Clarice, the secretary. Our speaker assistants, Katie, Hazem, Simone. Thank you guys for all your hard work. And from a marketing team, to take this event to the people, we have Marta, Head of Marketing. Our social media managers, Keuri and Aya, and our communication managers, Nishka and Jia. Thank you, guys. With this, we would like to call for a break of an hour. In this break, you can also check out our Creativity Hub, where groundbreaking ideas take center stage. We have stalls from societies of medicine, engineering, and space exploration. We hope to see you again in an hour. Enjoy your break.